What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I'll be providing you guys with my picks and predictions for UFC Fight Night Lerone Murphy versus Josh Emmett. And this fight will be taking place in the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. So without further ado, let's get straight into my picks and predictions. So the first fight in the card is between Vanessa Demopoulos versus Talita Alenkar. And I'll be picking Vanessa Demopoulos to win by decision. Next up, we have Victor Henry versus Pedro Falco. And I'll be picking Victor Henry to win by decision as well. Next fight in the card, we have Rhys McKee versus Daniel Frenza. And I'll be picking Daniel Frenza to win by a knockout. Next, we have Diana Belbita versus Dione Barbosa. And I'll be picking Diana Belbita to win by a submission. Next up, moving to the bantamweight division, we have Davy Grant versus Daniel Santos. And I'll be picking Davy Grant to win by a decision. Next up, in the flyweight division, we have Ode Osborne versus Luis Garul. And I'll be picking Luis Garul to win by a decision. Next up, in the middleweight division, we have Torres Finley versus Robert Valentin. And I'll be picking Torres Finley to win by a knockout. Also in the middleweight division, we have Brad Tavares versus Gerald Meerschaert, GM3. And I'll be picking GM3 to get this fight done by a submission. Next, we have Kennedy Nezuchukwu versus Martin Buday. And I'll be picking Kennedy Nezuchukwu to win by a knockout. For the feature fight in the card, we have Cortavius Romeus versus Cheng Ho Lee. And I'll be picking Cheng Ho Lee to win by a decision. Next, in the featherweight division, we have Pat Sabatini versus Joe Anderson Brito. And I'll be picking Joe Anderson Brito to win by a knockout. Now for the main event, we have Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy. And for this fight, I'll be picking Josh Emmett to win by a knockout. When you analyze both fighters' most recent fight, you have Josh Emmett, who is coming off of a brutal KO win where he knocked out Bryce Mitchell. And Lerone Murphy, he is coming off of a win against Dan Ige at UFC 308, I believe. And in that fight, Lerone Murphy, he was getting rocked. I believe he got dropped in the first round. And his fight against Dan Ige was a very, very close fight. If I'm not wrong, I think it was a split decision. It might have been unanimous. All I know that Lerone Murphy, he definitely lost round one and he got dropped. I remember him getting dropped in that fight. And Dan Ige, he has some power in his hands. But Josh Emmett is more powerful than Dan Ige. So if you're getting dropped and rocked around by Dan Ige, who is in the lower side of the featherweight rankings, then Josh Emmett, who is a certified knockout artist in most of his fights, he's going to be a problem for you. Of course, you have some strikers who get past him like Jair Rodriguez and Ilia Topuria, of course. Ilia, he's proven himself to be a championship quality fighter. But I think Lerone Murphy, yes, he's undefeated, but I believe that Josh Emmett is going to stop the rise of Lerone Murphy and hand Lerone Murphy his first loss in the UFC.